We're back. Today we've got questions on the coronation, Ukraine, and Victor Hugo's last words. And Charles regales us with stories of his adventures. Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu, now being broadcast and podcast on the Crusade Channel. Talk radio the way it should be at crusadechannel.com. I'm your host, Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a renascent Charles Coulombe.
Renascent? You mean as in reborn?
Yeah, this is the new you.
The new me. Wow. Is it the hair?
No, that's still graveyard blonde.
Oh, gee, thanks. Wonderful. Well, we got that part. Well, am I filled with new vitality? Am I tanned, rested, and ready after a month's vacation?
I should hope so.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a wild time. But before I talk about the wild time, we've got some stuff coming up.
That's right.
Well, you see, because when people actually see this show, it will be Monday, which is May 1st. The night before, they won't know this until they see this on Monday. Well, the patrons will, because they'll see the show tomorrow night. And they will know April 30th is Walpurgisnacht.
How could I forget?
May Eve. And if through some strange chance you manage to survive the bizarrety and the Halloween and spring atmosphere, then it'll be May Day and you get to dance around the maypole and give May baskets to people, and basically indulge. You'll be able to go a-maying. You'll be like Robin Hood in Maid Marian. Go maying under the jolly greenwood tree, all that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be neat. But May, you realize that at the end of the month, which is the month of Mary, at the end of the month, we will have Memorial Day for our American viewers.
Awesome.
So there's a lot to look forward to in the merry, merry month of May. I myself was walking in the park one day in the merry, merry month of May when I was taken by surprise by a pair of pretty eyes in the merry, merry month of May.
I believe it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. It was down by the old mill stream where I first met you.
Go on.
With your eyes so blue, dressed in gingham too.
Is that it?
No, you were 16, my village queen, down by the old mill stream.
All right.
I wore a tulip, the bright yellow tulip, and she wore a red rose.
Wow. Well, that's amazing, Charles.
Well, did I ever tell you about my friend Lucille?
Tell us.
Well, I told her, come away with me, Lucille, in my merry Oldsmobile. Down the roads of life we'll fly, automobile bubbling, you and I. To the church we'll swiftly steal, and the wedding bells will peal. You can go as far as you like with me, in my merry Oldsmobile.
Amazing.
Do you like that era of music?
It's pleasant. It's pleasant. You actually very admittedly have got me into the big band. I have a big band playlist on Spotify now where what is it, a lot of Glenn Miller. What is it? Benny Goodman?
Benny Goodman?
Yeah, and
the Dorsey brothers, Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey.
I don't have those. I need to expand that. I need to add. I'm not.
Les Brown and his band of renown, Artie Shaw, Kay Kaiser and his College of Musical Knowledge, Billy Joel.
I don't know. I think you a little bit off there. A little bit.
What? What are you talking about?
I don't know if Billy Joel is big band.
Billy Joel had a very big band.
Yep. But it's not like
They used to play it down
whatever.
at Mr.
Okay, Billy Joel's
Cacciatore.
big band. I'm just not I'm trying to
Oh, you were going down the merry path. You were going down the road to cray cray. Curses, you figured it out in time. You were about to get involved in a real debate as to whether Billy Joel was a big band leader or not.
I just
That was great. I feel I don't know, somehow justified. About what I don't know, but still.
Man, it's been too long. I shouldn't have even I'm rusty. That's for sure.
Guy Lombardo.
Definitely
Others
Guy
Royal
Lombardo.
Canadians.
Yeah, there you go.
Gosh, there's so many of them, and who could forget the female vocalists of that time, like Vera Lynn, Doris Day,
I really like
Madonna.
No. Okay, so I really like Ella Fitzgerald a lot.
Yes, Ella Fitzgerald was great.
Yeah.
She was great, and we had crooners too. I mean, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra,
Yeah.
Bing Crosby, of course, the king of the crooners, and we had Patti Page, the singing rage,
Yeah.
K-Star.
And obviously Dean Martin with all those Italian folk songs, as you like to say.
Yes. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Yep.
Yeah, you bet. Very authentic Italian culture there. And Vic Damone, Russ Colombo, Nelson Mandela. I mean, a lot of these really great Italian singers. What? You look tired. Are you okay?
Yeah, we just started the show, but you're really making me tired.
What's wrong?
I don't know. When you're doing a good job and then you list Nelson Mandela in the list of Italian
lounge singer. Nelson Mandela got his start in Vegas in the 50s. Really? He was there with all those...
Okay, you know, probably some obscure Nelson Mandela. Okay, great. That's okay.
Oh, he was there with a lot of other Italian singers like Shecky Green, Shelley Berman, Mort Saul, all those Italian singers.
Just, I'm probably missing a lot because I don't know everybody, but I'm pretty sure Mort Saul was
not an Italian singer. You don't think so, huh?
I don't think so. Just a little bit.
Well, he was from New York. That's something. He was from New York. What more do you want?
I guess so.
All those Italian singers used to play the Borscht Belt. Milton Berle comes to mind. So, all right, fine. Enough falderall.
You left us for like a month. What did you do? What's so much more important than us? What do you love more than us? What happened, Charles?
Well, I'll tell you. I went to a Mort Saul reminiscing concert. A lot of his old hits. I Did It My Way, Volare. All the songs that made Mort Saul famous.
Okay,
what?
This is like...
What?
This is like that meme where it's like a picture of Picard and it says, use the Force, Harry, from Gandalf, where it just like collectively makes everyone's brains explode.
I take it you never heard any of the old 78s of Mort Saul singing Volare.
Don't.
No, I remember the Rat Pack, with Joey Mason. Jackie Mason, rather. With Jackie Mason. Mel Gibson was another one.
This is punitive. That's what this is. This is
What?
you're punishing.
I'm not punishing. I've been away for a month.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Get it out of your system. Get it out of your system. And then on to serious matters.
On to serious. Well, I will tell you that at the lecture I gave in Nottingham, it had been my intention when I thought that it was going to be all college kids. What I was going to say, I did not, because in the event, half the people came from the parish and they were my age. So I couldn't do this. But I was going to tell them, I was going to say, all right, kids, before we get started, I know there's something you all want to say to me. And I figure we just better get this out of the way right now. So, on the count of 3, I want you all to say as loud as you can, okay, boomer. You know you want to. So let's just deal.
But you didn't get to say that.
Well, I couldn't say it because half the people there were my age or, well, younger, but, they weren't all college kids. So they would have felt insulted.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't feel insulted when people say, okay, boomer to me. Because I regale them with tales of, meeting Malcolm X at his act in Harlem.
Did you?
No, when he was a singer, yeah. He used to headline with Ella Fitzgerald.
Okay,
and Sam Cooke.
You're just off. You're just being crazy again. Okay.
What are you talking about? See, I can say things like this to young people. They never know the difference. They haven't heard of any of these people anyway. It doesn't matter. I could say anything. I could say anything at all. I could say that I used to hang out with the Duke of Wellington and Harry Truman. They wouldn't know. So you got to bear in mind that the products of modern education, they're great guys and gals. They're smart, but they come out of a garbage educational system that's taught them absolutely nothing. So it doesn't matter what I say. I could say that that Groucho Chico and Harpo Marx were the 3 Musketeers. They wouldn't know any different. In a sense, if you've got my kind of temperament, this is the best of all possible worlds, because you can toss out any garbage you want, and people go, oh, well, I don't know any different.
It's true.
Now, I have to admit, I have dedicated a chunk of my life to trying to help them learn this stuff so they can't fall for crap. But so many of them do, because they don't know anything, because they've got horrific university professors, Marxists and other kinds of riffraff and trash, that I figure if I can't beat them, I might as well have some fun.
Right.
Indira Gandhi, Mahatma's mother.
I thought it was a daughter. Wait, Indira?
No, she was Mahatma Gandhi's mother.
Okay,
It might be true. Who could tell?
I thought she was the prime minister. Okay. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. You're sucking me in.
She was Mahatma Gandhi's mother, and she never learned to read. But she used to sing with a big band at the Raj Hotel in New Delhi in the 30s with Mort Sahl.
Okay. Anyhow, all right, that's fine.
What is wrong with you? You seem very upset. You seem on edge.
Stop saying random things. That's why I'm on edge. You're just saying things that, and you're putting.
What?
Okay, you can say a lot of things, and nobody knows the difference because of our education. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. And how is that a bad thing? Exactly. If it's good enough for our educational system, why can't I do it too? if the universities and the high schools and the elementary schools have turned out 3 or 4 generations of functional illiterates, why do I have to be tied to the truth?
Be, I don't know. I don't know. There's not a lot of money in it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Man, you know, when I think of how much money gets generated for these critical race theory people, wow.
Cash cow.
And gender studies, line me up. Milk that cow, indeed. The gravy train be taken out of the station, and I'm on it. You know what? I'd settle for the caboose on the gravy train. I really would. But anyway, seriously, since you insist that I come somewhere sane, I will. Because actually, all joking aside, for a moment, just a quick moment, it was a really tremendous trip. I had to cut it a bit short. I didn't get to Scotland as I had hoped to, because I was getting very fatigued, and I had a class in canon law that was very intense awaiting me. So I'm afraid I actually I gave out, frankly. 2 weeks on the road really did me in, and I couldn't do a third week. Not with the week beyond that being a really intense canon law course, canon law of marriage, no less. So, in a nutshell, what we did was this: with a classmate of mine, flew to Ireland, and on March 25th, the Feast of the Annunciation. The following day was the Sunday, and so we went to Mass at St. Kevin's, which is a diocesan parish in Dublin. Beautiful place. Our friend Mr. Carney was the chairman of the committee which reconstructed it. Because after Vatican II, it was wrecked. Well, they literally went into the government archives, and from what they found there, they restored it to its original appearance in every single detail. So when you go in there now, you would swear nothing had happened. And I have no doubt that if one of the builders came back and looked at it, he'd figure, around, they've kept it in good shape. But it's not true. It had to be reconstructed, and it was interiorly. I mean, beautifully done. And I saw a lot of old friends, and that was great. Spent a couple of days in Dublin, and I'll tell you something interesting that happened. We toured the state apartments at Dublin Castle, which was the seat of the British administration in Ireland, where the Viceroy, the Lord Lieutenant, held forth. Well, as it happened, what should occur? But we're in the state drawing room at Dublin Castle, when suddenly I feel a funny thing go down my leg. And I looked down, and my Medal of Kaiser Karl fell out of my trouser leg. And then I felt a similar feeling on the right side, and I looked, and my cross and medals from the Confraternity of the Precious Blood went out the right side, the right trouser leg. So I realized that my scapular had broken around my neck. So right there in the state drawing room of Dublin Castle, I opened my shirt, pulled out the scapular, put the medals back on, tied a knot in it, and put it back on my head and around my neck, and then buttoned up again. All in the state drawing room of Dublin Castle. Now, you see, many people have had scapulars break on them in various places. But I may be the only one you know who has had his scapular burst in the state drawing room of Dublin Castle, right next to the throne room. I'll have you know.
We're all very impressed, Charles.
I thought you might be. It was an impressive moment in my life's journey. And we saw Christ Church Cathedral and venerated the returned heart of St. Lawrence O'Toole. And we went into what had been the Bank of Ireland, and what is the Bank of Ireland, had been the Irish Parliament building. They told us that the House of Lords chamber, which is preserved, was not open because of COVID, but we were able to see it anyway. And Dublin was wonderful, as it always is. And we met the prototype of Chief Clancy. He could have been his cousin, and we'll be able to play him in the biopic.
Wow, that's great.
It was really good. What happened was that we were going for lunch to a pub. We go in, the place was mobbed, but there was an upstairs, and it looked as though maybe the upstairs would be better. Well, no. And they had a bouncer there, an old guy who looked like Clancy's twin. And he said, "You'd be daft to be utterly mad to go up there." He didn't say don't go up there. He said you'd be utterly mad, you'd be daft to go up there. And then he recommended another place nearby, which he said would be quiet and much nicer. So we went. Probably owned by him and Clancy's third brother.
Nice.
You know, this guy probably works as the bouncer. Typical Clancy thing. Probably works as the bouncer in the rival pub. Oh, no, you don't want to go in here. It's a dump. Go across the street. It's a much nicer place. Much nicer. You like it. So, at any rate, Dublin, I love Dublin, always have. But we left it on the third day, and we went into the interior of Ireland. The beating heart of the Emerald Isle, don't you know? And where did we go, you ask? I'm glad you asked that question. Because where we went first was the Hill of Tara. The harp that once through Tara's halls. And seriously, having supposedly descent from Niall of the Nine Hostages, the great High King, we both of us stood on the Hill of Tara and thought of all that had gone before. Because, you know, it was more than just the High Kings. It was also where Daniel O'Connell had the first mass meeting, which ended up in the Catholic Emancipation Act of 1829. But Tara is, in a sense, one of the spiritual centers of Ireland, and certainly of Irish nationhood. And it was wonderful to stand there by what they claim is the Leofoil and look out over the countryside. So from there, we went to Athlone to see friends of mine. We had dinner with them, a very, very nice walk around the town the next day, stayed in a lakeside hotel. And then we took off the following day for Galway. Well, now, Galway Cathedral was dedicated by none other than our very own Cardinal Cushing, 2 years after he had offered the Requiem Mass for our martyred president, JFK. And to commemorate the demi-sainthood that JFK still has in many hearts, and certainly did then, there is a mosaic of the risen Lord. On one side, there's a round mosaic of Patrick Pearse praying to him, who was one of the most pious of the dead of 1916. And on the other side, a round mosaic of John Fitzgerald Kennedy praying to the risen Lord.
Beautiful.
It felt like 1965 in Galway Cathedral. So we had dinner with the man from the Round Tower, roundtower.org, who had organized a lot of rosaries and so forth in Ireland, done a lot of good work. And then the following day, it was a lot of time on the road. It was a very, very difficult day because of all the time we had to spend. We left Galway and we drove up first to Tuam and saw the two cathedrals, Catholic, which has been wrecked after Vatican II, really wrecked, and Anglican, which was not wrecked after Vatican II. And then we went up to the shrine of Our Lady of Knock and said prayers for all and sundry, especially for our viewers. And as always, Knock Knock is quite the experience. I mean, it's not the most beautiful of shrines, but it certainly is very affecting. And then from Knock, we went up to Sligo, and just beyond Sligo to Drumclea. And there we stopped by the church of Drumcliff, rather, and saw the grave of Ireland's national poet, William Butler Yeats, with its epitaph which he himself composed. Cast a cold eye on life, on death, horsemen pass by. Which, as Brother Leonard Mary of immortal memory used to say, is great advice if you're a fish. But at any rate, it was nevertheless sort of moving. I've always loved Yeats's poetry. He's kind of a weird guy, but as a poet, he was really something. And of course, more and more today, people like to quote his poem, The Second Coming. Do you remember it?
I am not familiar.
Well, luckily for you, that lack of familiarity is coming to a screeching halt right here, right now. It's, well, I'll just tell you. It's called The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born? Anyway, that was William Butler Yeats. He had another one that I like. Is a little bit cheerier, called The Fiddler of Dooney. And he says, Fiddler of Dooney. When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like a wave of the sea. My cousin is priest in Kilvarnet, my brother in Mohara Bowee. I passed my brother and cousin, they read in their books of prayer. I read in my book of songs I bought at the Sligo Fair. When we come at the end of time to Peter sitting in state, he will smile on the three old spirits, but call me first through the gate. For the good are always the merry, save by an evil chance, and the merry love the fiddle, and the merry love to dance. And when the folk there spy me, they will all come up to me with "Here is the fiddler of Dooney," and dance like a wave of the sea.
Hmm. All
It
right.
feels very Irish indeed. But we left his grave and turned inland and left the Republic and entered Northern Ireland, the North. Now, Dan, my classmate with whom I was driving, or rather he was driving, and with whom I was traveling, I should say, he wanted to meet a lady named Maggie Gallagher, who has been seen in a number of documentaries. Now, the king himself was called on her when he was Prince of Wales. She lives off the grid in the cottage that her great grandfather built, no electricity, etc. Well, we stopped, and it was just before sundown when she normally goes to bed. And initially, she was not terribly pleased to see us, but she warmed up pretty quickly and served us tea and cakes. And we had a very, very pleasant time with her. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. Very devout Catholic, a good monarchist for those getting ready for the coronation. And she lives the way the people of Ireland have lived for hundreds of years, with her own sheep and growing her own vegetables, all alone on her own plot of land. And from her, we drove into a town called Enniskillen and had an incredible dinner. And then began the weird adventure. Because you see, we're going to see the Bucks, Roger and Kim Buck. Who, you know him. I've known him online for many years, but we never actually met. And he's the author of The Gentle Traditionalist and things like that. Well, the thing was, and this is the thing, the nearest hotel in a town was 30 minutes away in Omagh. And I wanted to see if I could find something closer. So in booking.com, they found a place for me called Jamie's Cottage. Only 18 minutes away. Sounds a little like an M.R. James short story, doesn't it? Jamie's Cottage. I can assure you I'll never forget it. Never. But I had, after the deal was done and they took my money, they mentioned that you had to pick up the keys in a lockbox. And that's nice, but you needed the combination of the lockbox. So I tried calling the guy at the number that they gave. He didn't answer. I emailed him, didn't respond. And so as we're eating our dinner in Enniskillen, I'm really getting worried. Where's this going to go? Where it went was nothing. We didn't hear from him. So I said, well, let's just go there and see what happens. Well, this has been going into the hills of County Tyrone, and I'll tell you, it was dark, it was late at night, it was pushing midnight. The roads were literally one lane. It was enough space just for our car. And pitch black, dropped to the left, but no idea of knowing how far it was. Finally, we came to where the gate was supposed to be, and sure enough, it was there, and thank God it was open. But there's the place with the two, it was long, it was supposed to have 2 bedrooms, which is what I wanted, and the washing machine and things like that. So we pull up in front of it. I get out of the car, and it's pitch dark. And I look and I see a pair of boots. And in the boots is a man standing in the dark, lurking. And he says to me, I left there a wee note. I said, what? I left there a wee note. What he was saying was, I left you a wee note, a small letter. And I said, oh? He said, I lost my phone. I said, okay. It's booked. You can't have it. I said, what? What are we supposed to do? I paid for it. He says, they'll take the shepherd's rest up the hill. Okay. How do we get there? Go out the way you came. Then make a left. The first left of the road. The gate will be open. Take it all the way up the hill, and there it will be. Huh. Okay. Are you Jamie? No, I'm Stephen. Well, who's Jamie? He's on a bit the cottage. There's a family dispute. They happen in this part of the country. And then he gave us the keys and a portable Wi-Fi and said, I may be here tomorrow morning or I may not. And he drove off. So we got back in the car and we drove down, made the left, made the second left. Drove all the way up the hill and there was a trailer. We go inside. There was an alcove single bed on one side, not the 2 bedrooms I'd wanted. And I wasn't really keen on sharing a bed, let alone one that small. And the trailer was about as wide as this room. And I sat down and I said, and I just felt weirder and weirder and weirder. I thought, we're not doing this. Fortunately, thanks to the Wi-Fi. Well, first I was able to call. First I called his number. And of course, it went straight to the recorder. And I said, look, this isn't what I paid for. It's not what I want. We're not staying. And then I called a hotel in Omaha, and I explained by this time it was about 1 o'clock. I said we needed a, a room with 2 beds. And could they have it in a half hour? And they said yes, they could. And they did. So we drove down. But see, there's an important lesson here. The important lesson is if you find yourself in a spooky situation that feels like the beginning of a horror movie, get in the car and drive away. This should not be a difficult thing. You're in an old house all by yourself, and there's a long, dark passageway. To the other end, we've heard strange noises. Don't go there. It'll wait until morning. You go in your bedroom, you lock the door, maybe you put a chair against it, and you wait till morning. You hear strange noises in the hallway? Great. Check them out when the sun's up. I shouldn't have to warn people about this stuff. You don't do it. You know, there's the old house where the murder occurred 35 years ago that broods over the city. Bet you won't stay there overnight. You're right, I won't. This isn't. I double dare you. You can quintuple dare me. I'm not going up there. You're nuts. Why are you stupid? I'm not stupid. I'm not doing that. You do it. You think it's such a good idea. You hang out up there. I'm not going anywhere near there. You know, they do say that travelers of that tone at night sometimes suffer strange consequences. Fine. Then either I'll wait until tomorrow morning and I'll take another path. You know, why is this so hard for people to catch on to? Gala reopening of the scout camp where there was a mass murder 10 years ago. I'm not going there.
Yeah, some people that I feel like that part of their brain is dead, where it's like the part of the brain that should where alarm bells should be going off,
Oh,
they don't get it, and it's like I think they're the ones who get got in these
well,
situations.
they are. Well, I mean, it's like if you went to work for Starfleet and they issue a red shirt. No, I'm not taking a red shirt. You give it to some other moron. I'll take one of the blue ones. Red shirt. What do I look like? Well, I know what I look like. Expendable because you're trying to give me a red shirt, but that's not going to happen. You give me a gold shirt, you give me a blue shirt, or you have me work for Scotty in engineering because he wears a red shirt. He's the only red shirt I know who didn't get killed. So no, I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, this should not have to be rocket science. Anyway, but we survived that encounter. Spent a couple of very nice days visiting the Bucks. Visited other friends, then stayed with them overnight in the outskirts of Belfast, and then on Palm Sunday, we went to Mass at the Immaculate Heart, the Institute of Christ, the King's Sovereign Priest, pre-54 Palm Sunday service with the long blessings and the folded chasuble. And then we left that sweet little town they call Belfast. Yes, her eyes, they shone like the diamonds. I thought of the Queen of the land, and her hair had hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. I mean, you didn't know that.
I didn't.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell my mom when I get home. The boys won't leave the girls alone. They pulled my hair, they stole my comb, told my mom when I get home. She is handsome, she is pretty, she is the belle of Belfast City.
Wow.
Yeah. So we flew to Stansted. And from Stansted, we went to Cambridge, where my godson Ruru is just about to finish his doctorate. And we prowled around Cambridge for a bit. We're taken to various colleges and churches and chapels in Cambridge, had a good time. Went out. I was able to bring my godson to the manor at Hemmingford Gray, the original of the Green Knowe manor house, and it was wonderful. I found out that the Bucks knew Diana Boston, and before they got married, Kim Buck worked in the garden there. Isn't that strange? So from there, I went up to Walsingham and spent a very, very pleasant time in Walsingham. I was interviewed on EWTN Britain, but we were able to visit the shrines at Walsingham, and that was really, really wonderful. And by this time, it's Spy Wednesday, so we went to London. And Maundy Thursday, well, all three of the Triduum we spent were pre-1955 in parish churches. But wait, there's more. In one of them, on Good Friday, they chanted the collect for the emperor. And also on Good Friday, we're wandering around the city during the day, and we come upon something I've never seen before, didn't even know they had it. A passion play in Trafalgar Square. And a really well done passion play. Turns out it's a Catholic who runs it. But it was everything in the scriptures, including woman, behold thy son, son, behold thy mother. It was incredible, and done in Trafalgar Square, the center of the empire. Amazing stuff, really amazing. And we went to Westminster Abbey and venerated St. Edward the Confessor. We went to Westminster Cathedral and venerated St. John Southworth. We were given a private tour of Parliament, and we were able to see the beautiful chapel of St. Mary Undercroft. It was designed by Pugin. So it was all really, really an amazing thing. Had lunch at the old Cheshire Cheese. That was the Easter Monday. Easter Sunday, the Mass was, I went to two of them. One was Tridentine Mass in the morning. The second was a Dominican Rite Mass in the evening at the Rosary Shrine, which was great. The vigil was, as I say, pre-55, so you had all 12 prophecies, and it was really, really a wonderful experience. But Easter Monday, we flew back to Austria. Now, my intended trip, which was cut short, would have taken us to Oxford to see the Lamb and Flag, the Eagle and Child, definitely the Oratory at Oxford, and things like that, which would have been fun. And then we would go to, from there, we were due to go to York and see the Oratory at York, which is, again, very good, York Minster, and the Shrine of St. Margaret Clitheroe. From York, we would have gone into Scotland, seen friends in Edinburgh, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. And then the next day from Edinburgh, we'd have gone up to Aberdeen briefly for dinner with friends, and then to Inverness, the capital of the Highlands. And from Inverness, on April 15th, we would have gone to the commemoration of Culloden. And then on the 16th, flown back to Vienna. We didn't do that, but because I had that week to rest up, the canon law class was not the horror that it could have been. And then last weekend, a week ago, I flew back to England to give a lecture to the Catholic Societies of the Universities of Derby and Nottingham. So while I was there on the Saturday, a week ago today, I went to the bridge at Derby that was the furthest southern point that Bonnie Prince Charlie reached. I saw his statue in Derby Cathedral in the center of town. Then we went to Nottingham to see an old friend of mine who I've known 45 years, And we saw Nottingham Castle and the statue of Robin Hood and Maid Marian and all that. We saw the Catholic Cathedral in Nottingham, St. Barnabas, which is kind of damaged, shall we say. But the Blessed Sacrament Chapel, designed by Pugin, is still beautiful and intact. And then, I know what you're wondering, what do we do then? I'm glad you asked that question. We drove out to Sherwood Forest and saw the Church of St. Mary's, Edwinstowe, where Robin and Maid Marian supposedly got married. And then we saw the major oak way out in the forest, where Robin and his merry men would have disported. Then we went down to Leicester and saw Leicester Cathedral, but we couldn't go in. It's closed until the autumn. But that's where King Richard III is newly entombed, and his statue is there and all that. And then we went back to Nottingham, and I gave my talk, which was well received. The following day, we went to Mass at the Birmingham Oratory, home of J.R.R. Tolkien and the shrine of St. John Henry Newman. We had lunch in a hotel that Tolkien used to hang out at. And then we went to a place called Aston Hall. Now, you've never heard of Aston Hall. I know it. But you've heard of Washington Irving. And you know that his writings about Christmas at an English manor house did a lot to revive Christmas in the Anglosphere, inspiring Charles Dickens to write his stories and so on. Well, Bracebridge Hall in Irving's writing is Aston Hall. So I was able to see the very dining room and table where Washington Irving and his hosts made merry in Christmas of 1818, which in a lot of ways can be said to have started the modern Christmas that we know now in Britain and America. And then went to the airport, got on the plane, and flew home. And that's what I did on my vacation.
Wow. All right.
Are you duly impressed?
Duly.
And you know what's funny about all that?
What?
What's facing us? I mean, you've got the three kingdoms. And what's facing us but the coronation?
Yeah.
Bonnie Prince Charlie, Robin Hood, Richard III, Niall of the Nine Hostages. All these mythic and historical figures, they all come together in that coronation.
It's pretty cool.
It really is. And we have not seen any of these things since 1953.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on. That was a song by Billy Joel when he was a big band leader.
That's Moving Up, when he was a big band leader. All right. So it's time for the memes production.
Somebody doesn't want to go down a rabbit hole. All right. Nationalize the memes of production.
For the common good.
You got it.
All right. What do we got? Let's see. Just a comment from Philip. Just kind of acknowledging how long it's been and how difficult it's been for a lot of people. He says white knuckling withdrawal symptoms from off the menu deprivation. Wow.
Oh, if you've been jonesing, we're here to mainline you, pal.
Yeah. All right. What do we got here? I don't know even what we have. Crusade. Oh, so this is a submission from Superfan Curmudgeon. She says, Crusade Channel, you might have to interrupt Charles occasionally for channel identification. Vincent's response, this is a blessing from the Lord. That was so good. That was so sweet.
I think it's painful. I think it's cringe.
You
but
think
for
a lot of things are cringe. Oops.
For you, it's cope.
For me, it's cope. Okay. Whatever. What? Okay, Boomer.
You wouldn't talk that way to Tyrone.
Well, I mean, I could, but
yeah,
I
really wouldn't recommend it.
He's one of my most valued friends.
Yes, you shoot first and ask questions later.
That's
You could
right.
try it on old Rose, but I don't think she'd notice.
Well, I mean, she's very agreeable, you know.
No,
So
she ignores everything that's going on around her. It's easy to be agreeable.
yeah. All right. And it's just interesting watching all the comments pile up from various videos, this past month. So here's a fun one. This gives you a little taste of the kind of comments we have sometimes that are pretty fun. Brian George 3138 for the video we did on what is corporatism. He says two morons talking about nothing. Fix the title for you. Hip.
So, well, okay, Brian George. Let's talk about Brian George.
Let's talk about Brian George. Okay, let's talk about Brian George.
Well, wait a minute. We're two morons talking about nothing, which means Brian George is nothing.
Wow, that's probably true.
Well, I don't know. You remember when we were called giggling cucks?
That's right. That gets me nostalgic.
Yeah, those were great old days. Giggling cucks. What the guy didn't realize is that we were really giggling about him, but never mind.
Yeah.
Let's let the past bury its dead.
Yeah. All right.
Let's let Mr. Custer not want to go.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
What's
All
wrong?
right.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong. No, I agree
you
wholeheartedly.
almost slipped.
You're
You
preaching
almost
to the
fell
choir,
into it.
Charles, Mr. Custer.
You almost fell for it. This close.
All right.
The horse's hoofs were about to go over the cliff.
Alrighty. We're gonna do just a little. We haven't done this in a long time for book of the week.
We haven't done anything in a long time.
Yeah, but this is especially long time, and we weren't even doing this when we were doing shows. Book of the week, The Habsburg Way from Edward Habsburg.
Does he know anything about Habsburgs?
Who are the Habsburgs?
They're a family.
Oh.
Like the Rothbergs, the Goldbergs. No, they're not. They're totally different. The Habsburgs are amazing. Their image is behind you and behind me. The double eagle.
You don't say.
Wow. I do say.
I just thought it was a cool eagle with stuff on.
No, it's a cool eagle with shields. A well-protected eagle. You can shoot at that thing all day long. You never hit anything. It's got all those shields. No, the aim for the heads. It's like zombies. Aim for the heads.
That's right. That's important. So,
well, no,
have you read the book?
I have read the book. I have read the book. I endorse it heartily.
What's it about? Why would someone buy The Habsburg Way?
Well, very simply, let's pretend for a minute that you are either a married person wanting to make sure that your family somehow stay on track long after you're dead, or you're a single person who would like to be a married person, or you were a single person who was simply looking for some really good lifestyle advice. Now, there are a lot of life coaches running around right now. I sent you a few videos of a particular lifestyle coach, and your reaction was somewhat suboptimal to him.
Somewhat suboptimal, yes.
Yeah, I would say somewhat suboptimal. I mean, the words you used in response, the body language even, it was reflective of a less than appreciative stance taken toward this person. And, without wanting to mention who or what his name is or what his shtick is, I can understand why someone in your particular area with your life experience would feel it difficult to give yourself permission to accept the particular orientation of the counsel he was giving. And I think that it's very important that you take a little time to accept for yourself the best version of whomever you can be.
Okay, we're losing you, Charles. We're losing you. You're slipping into this this person's spirit is possessing you slowly. So let's come on back. Come on back.
All right, I'll come back. The Habsburg Way is a tremendous antidote to that kind of drivel.
Okay.
But it also gives some really, really fine lessons from life, from history, as to uh, how to maintain religious, spiritual, cultural, even political integrity in a world that's absolutely mad and constantly changing.
And he's got, in my opinion, the job position and credentials that proves that he's the ambassador to the Vatican.
Of Hungary.
Or
Yeah,
excuse me, Hungary to the
he's
Vatican,
the
right?
Hungarian ambassador to the Holy See.
Yeah,
Yeah,
excuse me.
and he, he's an amazing fellow, and I really can't recommend the book highly enough. I mean, it depends. If you want realism in your life advice, then it's really good. If you'd rather, you know, kind of deal more about self-acceptance issues and whether you're free to be yourself, or at least the image of yourself that you personally find acceptable. Well, if you like that kind of thing, this is the wrong book.
Okay. All right. Available on the Tumbler House website, or Tumbler House bookstore for $19.95. It's a nice hardcover. Let's see. It looks like it's a little under 200 pages. Become a patron and get free shipping at tumblerhouse.com. Patrons now get free shipping. Just one other benefit. There's so many benefits to becoming a patron of the show. Get early access to the show. Usually released Saturday or Sunday. And then obviously the exclusive content for the pre-show. It's usually typically runs 30, 40 minutes a week. And a lot more benefits, actually. So get your question asked, too. If you have questions for Charles, become a patron. Send them on in. We'll ask them on the show. All right.
Are we still doing the free biscuit recipes too for patrons?
No free no free biscuit recipes. I'm sorry.
So we discontinued that.
And no more free slicer dicer.
That was what made it for a lot of people. It slices, it dices, it mixes cocktails.
Yeah. So yeah. So join us on patreon.com. Really friendly community too. I really like talking to all the patrons, and I know Charles does too. So it's really enjoyable. Yeah.
All right. So become an even closer part of the Off the Menu family.
Absolutely. All right. State of the week. We don't have a lot of states of the week left. We are getting to the nitty gritty. We have just the biggest and the best states left. I think we can all agree. California, Texas, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Virginia. I don't know if we did New York, but New York's maybe, I'm not sure. I don't think we did New York.
Well, which one are you dumping on me tonight?
The one we're dumping on you tonight. Oh, we also didn't do Louisiana yet, but the one we're dumping on you tonight is Minnesota.
Minnesota. Well, Minnesota is a state of which I have many, many, many happy memories. Unfortunately, those memories are primarily concentrated around the Twin Cities. I've driven through a lot of the state, but I've only spent time really in the Twin Cities and in Winona, which is a lovely little town we're seeing. But the cities are, well, I've been to St. John's Abbey by St. Cloud, Minnesota. I've been to the Cathedral of St. Cloud, which has been sort of wrecked. St. John's Abbey has one of the ugliest churches imaginable. So if you go there, forget about the church. But unless you want to make a quick visit to the Blessed Sacrament, if you can find him. But the Welcome Center is the original church, and that's beautiful. So have a look. In terms of the Twin Cities themselves, you've got a lot going on in terms of beautiful places, beautiful architecture. You have the state capitol in St. Paul, of course. You've got the Basilica of St. Mary in Minneapolis, the Cathedral of St. Paul in St. Paul, the French Canadian churches of Our Lady of Lourdes and St. Louis, King of France. You've got in Minneapolis Murray's Steakhouse, and in St. Paul's the Lexington, two very fine old restaurants. You have in St. Paul the Church of St. Agnes, which not only offers the Latin Mass, the Tridentine Mass, but orchestral masses. So you can hear masses by Mozart and Schubert done as part of a Tridentine Mass, which of course is exactly how they were designed by their composers to be done. If you go to a Mass like that at a concert hall, it's a very different experience from doing it in a church as part of a Tridentine Mass. I assure you, because I've done it. Now they're both very, very charming towns, and I recommend them. I recommend them both very highly. I found out recently that I'm a direct descendant of Jean de Noyon, who was the first European to set foot on Lake of the Woods. So if you get up to Lake of the Woods, Minnesota, where I've never been, know that you're in my ancestors' footsteps.
All right. Looking at a map of Minnesota, I've never seen there's like a disconnected part of it across what is it, Lake of the Woods on the northern
Lake of the
part.
Woods. Yep.
But on the northern part, it's still Minnesota, even though it's kind of what is it, landlocked to Canada.
Yeah, it's like Port Roberts in Washington State.
I've never noticed that before. They don't show that on typical maps either. I don't think they don't show that aspect. I mean, I know. Wow.
Well, let's see the town. Let's see. Let's go to maps. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
Google Maps, which is we'll get the driving time from Austria to Lake of the Woods.
Austria to Lake of the Woods. Yeah. What's the driving time on that?
More than I've got.
But you see what I'm talking about for Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Angle Inlet is in there. Northwest Angle is what that's called. Most of it is a state forest. But there are some resorts on the northern shore. Jim's Corner is what? I don't know what it is. Looks like a store or something.
Anyhow, this is fascinating. A lot of interesting things there. One factoid I learned about Canada, actually, I had no idea, is there are actually the population of California is roughly equal to the population of Canada. I had no idea about that.
It's very true. It's actually it's a very lightly populated country, actually, and most people live close to the southern part.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there is in northwestern Minnesota, there's a town called Gentilly, which I would love to visit because, as you could guess by the name, it was settled by French Canadians. And the bar in Gentilly is called the so it's actually in Crookston, but it's called the Snow Sled Inn. How does that sound to you?
Sounds fun, friendly.
The menu is interesting. All I've got is ribs, wings, uh, and booze.
That's good enough for me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
All right, enough of this. Let's
Enough
move
of
on.
this. Time for the questions.
Oh,
Let's get it started with Sandra, who says, since Charles is closest to the war and has been to Ukraine, does he support an immediate ceasefire and then negotiations for peace? Or should Russia have to vacate Ukraine before any discussions are to be had? And why?
honestly, it's not my place. It's not for me to say, in the words of the immortal Johnny Mathis. Um, I mean, my personal feeling is that peace is better than war, and dialogue is better than murder and killing and mayhem. But I'm not Ukrainian, and that ultimately is a decision they're going to have to come to.
Hmm. Okay. Question from Helvicio. He says, Sir Charles has a lot of restraint in interpreting Victor Hugo's last words. I always contrast Hugo's, quote, icy black light, end quote, to St. Dominic Savio's, quote, what a beautiful sight. Of course, if Hugo saw something awful at the end, that does not mean he was necessarily damned. God
Yeah.
told a certain Catholic mystic that he gives souls in mortal sin one last chance to repent by showing them where their sins will take them, and that the sinner must embrace hell before being condemned there. I wish that I could remember which mystic wrote that. Anyhow, I guess your thoughts on that, Charles?
I don't know. I mean, again, um, I I I think of what's his name, von Balthasar's "Dare we hope all men be saved." No. Would I like all men to be saved? Well, it comes down to a question of mercy and justice, justice and mercy. And what we know is that no one goes to hell who doesn't fully deserve it. Uh, we also know that those who embrace God's mercy can be saved. But I have no idea what the arrangements are like just before they snuff it.
Hmm.
I expect I'll find out myself one day.
I should think. All right. Unless there's something you're not telling us. All right.
I'm getting interlocutions that they're so interior that even I don't know what they are.
Vonday Radio says, Dear Charles, as an American abroad, please could you explain the historical and cultural roots of the American penchant for hustling their meals? I've noticed American family members eat with rapidity, and in 1864, the Englishman John Francis Campbell was startled at the speed with which fellow steamboat passengers consumed their meals as they floated down the Ohio River. How would you compare your dining experiences between the United States, Austria, and other countries you've visited?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we Americans do eat more quickly than most people, as a rule. Um, and I think part of that is the idea in the back of our heads that to take time to savor anything is a waste of time that could be used in something more useful. That is to say, more profitable. So I think that's definitely in the air, and it's a remnant of the whole Puritan work ethic. Um, I have this a bit exacerbated in my case because of service in the National Guard. And when you're in military training, you've just got to eat very quickly. Um, but yeah, I would say that it's a holdover from Puritanism.
I think there could be a lot of reasons, actually. My dad grew up during the Depression. Any large family who lived during the Depression, Probably scrambling for food.
Yeah,
It's
they had to
probably
eat
like
quickly.
you get more and you eat it, right? Like you're not gonna save it. I know even a younger person, the Grand Knight of our council, he had a similar experience where there just wasn't a lot of food on the table, and when it's time to eat, you eat and get it down before your siblings. So
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
it makes sense. It could be. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Miranda says, "Greetings, esteemed Tumblr overlords, defenders of the realm, and devourers of chow mein sandwiches." Let's
That's us.
speak for you. Well, I don't know if it's me. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Kind of remains to be seen.
Oh,
I
you know you want to.
mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Well, I'd have to see it in person. I don't know. The pictures I've seen so far, I don't know, Charles. Anyhow, all right, moving on.
Uh,
I've been listening to a book of stories about Padre Pio, and it got me thinking. What was the buzz about him like in the church in the 60s? Remember growing up in the 90s, people always referencing Mother Teresa if they were talking about being especially good or kind, whether the person was Catholic or not. Something like, quote, "You want my chips? What do I look like, Mother Teresa?" But I don't remember anybody seeking her out, praying to her, mentioning miracles, or putting up devotional images of her while she was still alive. Interesting. Are you aware of any living stigmatists? Who do you suspect to be our living saints? Hmm.
well, I first heard about Padre Pio, frankly, in the 70s when one of my writing instructor at New Mexico Military Institute, Mr. Carl Van Horn, told us about meeting him when he was in the Army in World War II. Uh, I didn't really hear a lot about Padre Pio until the late 80s when people really started talking about him. He was, of course, 20 years dead by then. Um, I don't know any stigmatics today. There was a brother and then Father Gino whose claim was a stigmatic. Turns out he was not. So I don't know any real stigmatics today. That doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means I don't know them.
What about like living saints? I mean, I don't think there are any popular miracle workers, so to speak.
No, no.
Um,
At least if there are, I don't know them.
yeah. Isn't it interesting though? I feel like Miranda made an interesting point because like Mother Teresa, like I also obviously everybody did heard these things during the 90s where you use Mother Teresa's name in that manner. But
It's
really
true.
there's not this sort of same association like Padre Pio.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there wasn't. Mother Teresa became very well known, I think, because her work was very well known,
Yeah.
especially in the English-speaking world, because she worked in the English-speaking world, India. But Padre Pio worked in Italy, and of course, you know, other than fighting them in World War II, we don't know a lot about them unless we're fortunate enough to descend from them.
All right. That's interesting. So you said the English speaking world, India?
Yeah,
That's interesting because normally, I mean, I personally don't associate India as an English speaking world, but I guess the remnants of the British Empire is what you're
very much
saying?
so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And also because they've got so many different ethnicities within India that dislike one another. English has been a useful, neutral lingua franca among them.
Interesting. All right. Wow, this was a really kind of like out of whack episode because your story and all that stuff took about like 50 minutes and then we've gotten through all these questions in about 10 minutes, but final question for today is from Michael, who says King Charles's coronation rapidly approaches. Does Charles know of any events in the New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania area celebrating the ceremony? I want to celebrate with like minded people. Also, what were some things Catholic faithful could do to commemorate the coronation, such as manner of dress, certain foods, or even certain prayers. God bless you both as always, and God save the King.
God save the King. Well, what do you do? Well, of course, the easiest and most obvious thing is to have a mass said for him. Now, if you're anywhere near an ordinariate community, they may very well be doing something anyway, but check in on it. As far as things in the New York area, on Thursday, May the 4th, 2023, 11:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m., the Daughters of the British Empire and the state of New York are having a benefit luncheon in honor of the coronation of the king. It'll benefit health advocates for older people. 3-course lunch in the ballroom of the Cosmopolitan Club. So if you're interested in that, you want to go to DBENYORGANIZER. That's DBenny, Daughters of the British Empire, New York, organizer at gmail.com. Then you could go to their picnic. Again, that's the Daughters of the British Empire in New York, dbeny.org. Now, on the day itself, the St. George's Society of New York, founded in 1770, are having the Big Lunch Coronation Picnic on May the 6th itself, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Central Park. But you've got to register. So if you're interested in it, you need to plunk in St. George Society, New York, Coronation Big Lunch, and you will be taken right there, and you can register if there's still room or not. So Philadelphia, I think there's the St. George's Society of Philadelphia. You might also call your local British consulate and find out if they know anything. The George's Society, Philadelphia.
So while he's doing that, I repeat some information we mentioned on the pre-show. Looks like the coronation, the live ceremony, is going to be at 3 a.m. So it's kind of a hard thing to plan a event with friends and for a live, watching it live. So I know Charles and I will both be watching a recording, perhaps later in the day. So I think that's what at least most Americans are probably going to opt to do.
I'll say.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Philadelphia. On May 6th, you want to contact the Society of St. George in Philadelphia. May 6th, the British Officers Club in Philadelphia is having a live stream of the coronation and breakfast at the Episcopal Diocesan Center Auditorium in Norristown, PA. On the same day, the King's Coronation Garden Party is being held at the Highlands Mansion in Fort Washington. You might also call your local British Consulate General and see if there are any British societies in your area that are interested. Again, for those who like to get all excited about, what use of this is to Catholics and so on and so forth. Well, two things. One, this is the remains of a Catholic ceremony, and it gives you quite an insight into what the Catholic notion of governance was back when there were still Catholic governments. The other thing is that this will be the first time since 1685 that the king is anointed with valid chrism. We cannot say what the effect of that will be on him any more than we can guess the renewal of priests' vows at the chrism mass in Holy Week does for them. We don't know. But we can certainly pray that these outward signs of inward grace bring the king or the priests all of the joys and assists and helps that heaven has for me.
So, are you saying this is the first time a Catholic sacramental has been used since then?
Since 1685, yeah.
So everyone else before uh, during that time has opted not to do that. So what happened there?
Well, I mean, all that happened. See, remember originally, um, in the Catholic days, the vast majority of coronations, including the Holy Roman Emperor, used in the anointing the oil of catechumens to show that they come of a royal priesthood and all that. But at different times, 5 countries were given the right to use chrism in their coronations. And they were France, Scotland, Jerusalem, Sicily, and England. So the very use of chrism by the English kings for their coronation speaks of Catholic England. After Elizabeth and the adoption of the Revised Book of Common Prayer, the apostolic succession in the C of E died out. So that meant that they no longer had valid sacramentals. So in 1685, however, James II was going to be crowned, and he ensured that a Catholic prelate consecrated his chrism because he was a Catholic. Although the Protestant ceremony was approved by the Pope, he wanted the anointing to be done with oil that was, done by a Catholic. Well, as luck would have it, now the king has ordered that the chrism be co-consecrated by the Anglican Archbishop or the Anglican Bishop of Jerusalem and the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem. So, for the first time since 1685, a British monarch will be anointed with a valid sacramental chrism. And we can only pray that he takes advantage of the graces that will undoubtedly come his way because of these things.
Okay. Yes, we can. That will do it for the end of for the episode.
Oh, really?
We're just getting warmed up, people. I can't wait to get into the weekly cycle again.
That will be grand. And when you tune in next time, exclusive commentary on the coronation.
Yeah, exclusive commentary from Charles, right?
A long-time coronation watcher.
Oh, yeah. Long-time coronation watcher? Yeah, you're a real veteran. You're...
Well, you know the last coronation in Europe before this one?
I have no idea.
Pope Paul VI in 1963.
Okay, so you were 3. you're a little baby Coulombe.
I'm pouting.
Oh, okay.
You made me pout a week before the coronation. I hope you're proud of yourself. Are you happy to make me pout?
I can't control how you feel. If it were up to me, you'd be all smiles, Charles.
Did you want to make me pout?
I mean, some comeuppance is nice. I'm not gonna lie about that.
So do you really want to hurt me?
Okay, you watch yourself on that one. We're not going.
You really want to make me cry?
We're not gonna go there, Charles. We're not gonna go there.
What? Oh! You know something else? You know who's not going to the coronation apart from Meghan Markle?
You?
Well, I'm not going either, but neither is Boy George.
Didn't he die?
No.
He's not dead?
No, he's running a Catholic book company in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Are you sure he's not dead? Maybe I'm
sure.
thinking of the other dude. No. Okay, he's 61.
David Bowie?
No. Oh, I can't remember his name. You got to have faith.
Prince?
This is killing me. George Michael, the other George. George Michael, your favorite. You love George Michael, right? Give me some George Michael lyrics, Charles.
You are cruel. George Michael was a train wreck waiting to happen, and it did. All over his life, it just splattered. It was very unfortunate.
All right.
All I can say is with Dame Edna regarding Madonna. Why? Well, she was asked, Dame Edna was asked on television, if you could ask Madonna one question, what would it be? And Dame Edna goes, why?
That's fair. I think that's a good question.
Well, and the other thing too is that you can take questions like that and you can twist them a bit. I mean, so for instance, you're interviewing a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And so you say, with no build-up and no context, do you regret it? Well, there's nothing you can say at that point, because if they say yes, oh, really? What do you regret? And if they say no, well, then, oh, I see, so you really don't care.
Wow.
See?
Interesting.
There's a method to this stuff.
That's interesting. All right. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, if it's Monday, it's off the menu.
It's off the menu. So you save.
Maybe
your own.
All right. See you next week, guys.
God bless you. Take care.